there are two major things going on in the world right now. There are two major things going on in the world right now. Just two major things. The first major thing that's going on in the world, biblically speaking, is the restoration of the remnant of the house of Israel, the true bloodline descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who, according to the Bible, have been scattered through captivity and slavery to the four corners of the earth. So, first thing is the restoration of the true bloodline descendants, the house of Israel. That's the first one. The second thing that's going on in the world is the ruin of all of the nations that held us in captivity. So we're going to see two things. We see two things in the world. You're seeing the restoration of the remnant of the house of Israel, true bloodline descendants. And at the same time, you are seeing the ruin of those who held us in captivity. That's what we're seeing right now. And the judgment upon the nations that held us in captivity, the judgment is going on all over the world, but one of the places where this judgment would take place, one of the major places that this judgment is going to take place, would be the Valley of Decision, which we're going to find out, if not in this video, but in the book of Joel, we're going to find out that that's the Valley of Jehoshaphat. So that's what we're seeing. I've been saying this for a while. We are not at this point in time seeing the ascension of a great empire, or the creation of a great empire. What we are witnessing worldwide is the destruction or the decline of the great world empires. And of course, the great world empires of the day have to do with the European nations and the European unions. And of course, they were major players in the slave trade. So we're not watching the ascension, we're watching the decline. And everybody knows it. That's not something that is, that's not something that you can't see. But what you need to see in this is how accurate our scriptures are when it comes to predicting these times. That we are actually living in a time where we can see the nations of the world being gathered together to the very place that Joel and so many others, Amos, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Deuteronomy, which is Moses, so many other people talked about how the judgment would take place against the world in the land, in the Holy Land. And it's happening in our Holy Land. So we're watching, again, the restoration of a nation. The people who didn't even know they were a people, that was us. Coming out of the 400 years, Jacob's trouble, get into that in a minute. But we're also watching Yah's judgment upon the nations that held us in captivity. And that means beginning at the Roman Empire, primarily talking about Rome, from 70 AD until today. All right. So I want to begin this study. I know I've already talked about the Valley of Decision, and I've already kind of told you that it is a place, physical place, where you have to make the right decision, because that right decision will determine your eternal destination. When you're in the Valley of Decision, you got to make the right choice. Ooh-wee. Because there are eternal consequences, and one is either in Shamayim with Yah, or the other one is going to hell. I showed you that. I was going to go through Joshua, and I was going to show you that Joshua also brought the people to a valley of decision. Matter of fact, I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but just because somebody might want to look it up, when you go to Joshua, and let me see, make sure I get the right chapter. When you get to the end of Joshua, he literally, I thought it was 24. Okay. So when you get to Joshua and you get to verse 23 and, chapter 23 and chapter 24, you're going to see that once again, the nation of Israel is brought to a valley of decision. A literal place where they were told, and of course we get the famous quote from Joshua. He says, you all can do what you want to do serving these other gods on the other side of the flood. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve Yahuwah, right? Okay, so I'm not going to deal with that right now. I just want to show you that there are times when nations are brought to a crisis. They are brought to a point where they must make a decision on which way they want to go. Do they want to go the way of Yah, or do they want to go the way of the gods of this world? And of course, we unfortunately chose, according to Joel and all of our other prophets, our people chose the way of the other gods of the nations. And as a result, all of the bad things that he said was going to happen to us did. But what we often overlook is that he said, even though this did happen to you, I'm not going to ultimately forsake you, but I will judge those nations who have taken you into captivity. And Joel says, his name is Yoel, really, and Yoel really is a combination word. It's Yahuwah and Elohim put together. So you know what his name means. It means Yahuwah is Elohim. Yahuwah is the all-powerful.